Welcome and thank you for joining the conversation. We're going to get this train underway. My name is David Goat. I'm going to be the host, and I'm so excited because today we've got not only two marketing experts, we have innovators. That's right, people doing new things to solve problems, and you're going to be excited to hear more about that as we go. I would like to start by saying we welcome your questions. Type them into the Q&A. You can find that button down at the bottom. You can also use chat, but I prefer Q&A because we also have an expert standing by. I call him the silent panelist, the question ninja. His name is Christian Lively. And Christian, you don't have to say anything because you're silent. But Christian's going to be over there answering technical questions, the nitty-gritty stuff. Maybe you don't want to go out to the group or to the panel, but you'd like an answer right away. Maybe it's about Conversa, maybe it's about Talkdesk. So Christian's going to be doing his best to answer those questions in chat or Q&A as we go. We're talking about bad leads gone good. I love the title because it sounds like an old Western movie. There's some kind of shootout happening. There's some kind of conflict that needs to be resolved. But our two panelists today, we'll start with Kim, who's from Talkdesk. And Talkdesk helps organizations around the world create better customer experiences through the use of cloud-based contact center software. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And you are the Senior Director, Global Campaigns and Performance Marketing. That's a mouthful. What is your role? What do you really do in your role?
It is, exactly. So my team handles, all of the campaigns that we run for Talkdesk globally. And then we also handle paid media, paid search, basically all the advertising platforms.
Very nice. And our other panelists from Conversa, and Conversa helps AI-driven lead engagement software. They provide AI, that's artificial intelligence, lead engagement software for marketing and sales organizations, and they have a suite of intelligent virtual assistants for businesses. And it's our honor to have Alice Heck, who is the Senior Director of Integrated Campaigns and Demand Generation. Alice, why do marketing people have such long titles?
We like to hear it, I guess, David. But yeah, so I am the Senior Director here at Senior Director of Demand Gen and Integrated Campaigns. Similar to Kim's role at Talkdesk, we run the campaigns, we build programs to support pipeline. And just a little plug for folks like myself and Kim, we love this type of work. It's exciting, it's ever-changing, it's fast-paced, it's demanding. And most of all, we're always learning. So today we're here to learn from each other and learn from the audience with their questions.
Thank you for mentioning the audience. And I expect we have lots of other marketing professionals, marketing ops, salespeople, business owners. I don't know, people interested in getting better leads, which is a very common problem in the industry now, and what to do with the ones that you have coming in. So Kim, I'm going to start with you. Let's take a macro level here, a broader view. What are some of the challenges that you and all the folks online today are facing today in the industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the biggest issues that we're facing is just obviously the volume, right? How do we get more leads? Typically in marketing, we're always asked to do more with less. So, less resources, less budget. And it's really that struggle between how do you expand and how do you continue to grow when you have less resources, when it's harder to get people to convert. And that's really one of the biggest challenges that we're facing today, I think.
Great. And Alice, would you agree, disagree? Want to add anything to that?
I definitely agree. And I think that just to be more specific of an example, so there's over 8,000 MarTech companies out there. And so there's a lot of noise, and which presents a lot of challenge for us, not only as we're trying to market to our ICP, but also as we're trying to decide on what tools are best, right, for our tech stack. And so even though these tools are amazing, it feels like a lot of the back end and operations need to be set up correctly. So I think a lot of companies are going through the process right now of taking a hard look at their lead management framework. Maybe it was created 10, 15 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, but times have changed. And so in order for us to be competitive and really deal with these challenges and leverage these amazing tools, we have to have an understanding of our workflow in today's world. So, and what I mean by that is really understanding where your leads are, how do we segment them, how do we treat them, how do we move them along, in the funnel with the best customer experience. And that can only be done if we really understand our backflow. And that I feel like a lot of our colleagues are having some challenges with back end and workflow these days.
Yeah, and I see Kim over there nodding her head like, uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Kim, so what are the things what are you trying, and to overcome some of those things? Give me just a few of the different things you're trying, maybe succeeding with, maybe not yet.
Exactly. And Alice really hit it. One of the things that we're doing is trying to figure out what is the right lead flow. What is the right amount of leads that we're sending over to our sales team? What is the right amount of leads that we're keeping and we're nurturing? End of last year, we took a hard look at all the different places that we were marketing, all of our different lead sources, and found that we actually needed to get a little bit stricter with our MQLs and what we were sending over to sales. So we decided to, change that. We decided to get a little stricter, send more quality over. But what that left us with was this big pool of pre-MQLs. So now the question is, how do we nurture them? How do we figure out which ones are interested? How do we kind of pick those out so we can find through all that big, sea of leads, the ones that are actually interested? So one of the things we did actually was start looking at tools, and looking at tools that we could automate and scale that process in a way that it wasn't going to be a lot of manual effort, and monitoring on my team.
Well, why can't you just hire like a team of 20 BDRs and that problem solved, right? They
Exactly.
start calling people.
Super easy. Yeah. But this is where we love the tech, all the different companies that are out there. It's really great to be able to leverage technology to go through some of these problems and be able to find ways to scale without having to hire, a huge staff. So that's where we actually started to look at Conversica, and started to take that in and see how can we take that and apply that to this kind of new methodology that we had of how many MQLs we were sending over and how many we were keeping.
Yeah, and artificial intelligence, or we'll just call it AI for the rest of the show here. That's one of those things that's come along in the last even 5 to 7 years, right? Really getting more mature and functional and doing what it's promised to do. I've been in marketing for a long time. 15 years ago, would never have dreamed of having this kind of tool available. So Alice, Conversica plays in this space. In fact, I think would say helped created this space. So tell me, where is marketing heading with artificial intelligence in general? Now we get into how Kim actually used the tool to solve some of her problems.
Yeah, so AI is a big word, right? And then again, back to the noise comment I had earlier, but I think I want to be much more specific of what it is that we provide. So Conversica actually provides your team a digital member. So it's powered by AI. And this digital team member supports your marketing efforts, your sales efforts, and your customer success efforts. But in the context of this topic and this audience, it supports you with marketing in terms of qualifying leads, driving demos, follow up 100% of the time. And so your assistant does this, your AI assistant does this by conducting these human-like outreach, right, in a way that's sort of a two-way conversation until your leads are ready to talk to sales. So there's many aspects of AI, but in Conversica's world, it's definitely providing your team a digital team member that is an AI assistant.
Yeah, Alice, I've seen all the Terminator movies, right? I got this phobia about robots and automation taking over. That is somewhat of a debate still, right? How much can this really do? When do human beings step in? So I'm going to go back to you, Kim, because you're looking at the Conversica tool, and that's why you're both here together, because you're using some of the technology Alice is talking about. Do you have any hesitation or skepticism about jumping right into this?
Well, it's interesting, right? You always wonder, that debate of can a human do it, or, can AI do it as well as a human can do it? And our initial use case actually for Conversica was for our SDR team, to basically extend that SDR team, have some additional follow-up without having to actually, grow the SDR team. So have that automated assistant. And then at the end of last year, when we started looking at this problem that we had with so many MQLs, traditional nurture for us wasn't necessarily working. We decided to expand the program and actually have Conversica start reaching out to these pre-MQLs. What's really nice about it is that the system is built to go through the motions, go through the conversations, and then intelligently be able to decipher what the responses are and pick out those leads that actually were interested. And it's something that, I think it would take a human an incredibly long amount of time to not only do the outreach, but also process those answers that are coming back via email and find the ones that we're interested to follow up with. So it saved us a ton of time.
Okay.
And
well,
Sorry,
ahead,
Dave.
Alice.
I want to add into the topic of MQLs, right? So MQLs are fantastic. It had its place. It has its place. And as you all know, that's based on scoring activities, download an ebook, for example, which signals interest. The problem with that is that it's still an assumption, right? That we're making assumptions based on somebody reading an ebook that they are actually ready to talk to sales. And so for as long as I've been working with the whole MQL concept, I have never been, as a marketer, been 100% confident in passing those leads over. So whereas with Conversational Conversational AI Assistants, they work on your behalf and are asking the right questions to actually get replies that express real interest. So that's the difference, I think, between setting yourself up with MQLs, which again has its place, but really is Kim's challenge that she's solving for, which is the rest of the leads, which could be considered bad leads, but really they're just pre-MQL leads. How do you treat those? How do you follow up on those? And how do you actually get them to bubble up to be ready to talk to sales?
Awesome. Yeah. And in fact, there's some questions starting to come in. Audience, please agree, disagree. We want your comments and your questions. I'll be fielding some of those and sending them over to the panelists. But Alice, I hear you talking about this. I have to back up for a second. What, the AI assistant? Actually, let me go to Kim. Kim, how does it work? Do you have like someone that people think is a human? Like if I reach out, I want to be a Talkdesk customer, what happens?
Yeah, so we do. I mean, the assistant functions just like a normal SDR really would. It's funny, we lovingly have named her Maya within Talkdesk, and she's kind of just like another SDR, right? We've had people reply, we've had people, come back to us and say, hey, Maya did this. This was great. So it does kind of become this entity. And what's really nice about it is that, again, we call her she, she is able to actually, understand what somebody is writing back to her. And it's not just a one and done. So if you think of, the nurture emails that we would send out through a marketing automation platform, there's one call to action in there, right? You click a link, you do something, to Alice's point, that then increases your lead score. With Conversations, we're actually able to interpret what somebody is saying back. If they're like, yeah, you know what, I'm interested, but I'm busy for the next 2 weeks. What type of response do you think you would get if that was a response to a regular marketing email? Probably nothing, right? It might kind of go into this black box. But with Maya, she replies back and says, that's great. What's your phone number? I'm going to set you up with a meeting in 2 weeks from now. So it's really nice because that way we have not only the time frame, we have the intent, we have the confirmation of phone number and information, and then we send it over to our SDR team in a nice little package, and they love it.
Well, I have a confession. I worked for a company, or went to work on my first day and was looking through all the LinkedIn profiles of who worked there. And one of the people, her name was Jenna. And like, oh, I haven't said hi to Jenna yet. Oh, she lives in Atlanta. She had her whole little identity. And when I talked to the CEO, I said, how come Jenna doesn't show up to the meetings? And that's, he explained that it was an AI assistant from Conversational, and she had her own LinkedIn profile and probably showed up at company parties. I don't know. It's kind of interesting how it works. So Alice, talk to me a little bit more about when Kim came to Conversational and was getting this set up. How hard is this to get going? I mean, because I'm thinking I got to write scripts. I've got to, what's the ramp up process like?
Yeah, so to set up, it's about 30 days, but you can be up and running in a week. And the reason why it could be different, it could be longer for some companies, is back to my point I made earlier, it depends on your back end. It depends on how you set up your workflow. So that's the time that it takes to set up. And so what's the other part of your question, David?
Yeah, just asking, the ramp up time, like there's got to be some startup, script writing and thinking. I imagine, in fact, Kim, I'm going to ask you, because you had to do it here. What did this stimulate internally at Talkdesk? Like what kind of processes, conversations did you have to get it set up?
Yeah, what we wanted to look at was what were the types of conversations that we wanted to set up. How did we want to flow leads into Conversational, and kind of what conversations did we want to put people in? Was it based off of actions they took? Was it based off of their industry? Things like that. So those are some of the discussions that we had internally, was basically how are we going to use this and what we wanted the conversations to say. One thing that I really love is that the majority of these emails are written for us already. So there's customization that we can do within the platform to make them specific to whatever the audience is that's receiving them. but it's very minimal. The rest of it's already done, and it's done based off of, Alice, correct me if I'm wrong, best practices, deliverability, all those things to make sure that these emails are going to do their job and convert. So unlike, a nurture series that we would have to write the entire email for, we only had to customize little pieces of these conversations, which was really nice.
Yeah,
Interesting.
just to support that, David, so our engineers have done a fantastic job of creating over 700 templates, pre-built templates for marketers to use. And it's easy for them to edit and modify, which is an easy process. So if you've ever gone through the process of writing conversations for bots, you'll be blown away by this whole process. So if you've done the process of writing the conversation, and you have to sit there and assume situations, and the situations of conversations via a bot could be like 100 types of scenarios, right? And to sit down and write that, right, it's not a fun process, and it's definitely not scalable. So how it works at Conversational is that our AI actually pulls in the right response based on what he or she sees, so that you as a marketer aren't sitting there writing these out and assuming situations, so you can write response accordingly, if that made sense.
So what I'm hearing is you can scroll through these templates. Like I need a basic customer service first call kind of script. It's mostly built for me. Maybe there's 10 to 20% customization with my own terminology, things like that. Correct. Is that how it works?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, so Kim, back to you. I know that it's not everybody always agrees on, right? So you have product marketing, ops, sales, marketing. Tell me about that. Just the human process. Sounds like the software is easy to use, but were the people easy to use?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest thing for us was just those internal conversations, right? Again, deciding what we wanted to follow up with, what those different groups were going to be. And then also, making sure that everything was aligned. So with our marketing ops team, with our sales team, that, marketing ops had everything connected, right? We could flow leads into there the right way. And then on the sales side, that they understood when a lead comes in from Conversica, that a conversation's already been had. There's already been this back and forth with Maya, and where they can find that information and understand. So we did, training internally with our sales team, so they were familiar with how to follow up, because it is a different type of lead than the traditional leads we were sending over.
Any pushback from SDR saying, "Hey, you're trying to automate my job," right? or did they respond like, "Hey, thanks for taking care of all that grunt work, so I can focus on more strategic"? What was the response from sales?
They love it. It's definitely a tool that helps them out. You almost wonder on the marketing side if you're, creating a monster, because you're giving them these leads that the intent is already there. Everything's confirmed for them. Definitely not the normal type of lead that we're sending over from a form submit or something like that. So, I worry, because we're sending them these golden leads, what they're going to think of the normal leads we send over to them.
Yeah, and David, one of our audience members, says, yes, anything that makes it easier for SDRs is welcomed. Absolutely. Great. So let's talk about, again, after you got it up and running, Kim, how soon did you see results, and what were some of the metrics, if you can share?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw results instantly. One of the nice things for us was the fact that these were leads that we were not having good conversations with otherwise. So immediately it was a benefit for us in having these conversations deployed. And some of the metrics that we measure are engagement rate. So how many people are actually replying back to the emails. And then hot lead rate, which are how many people are replying favorably, saying, yes, I want to schedule a meeting. And, even if you think about those metrics, those are typically not metrics that you can track within a traditional nurture program. A nurture program, you're going to look at open rate, you're going to look at click rate, but you can't really understand the intent behind that audience. And that's an additional new metric that we were able to uncover with Conversica.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Audience, keep the questions coming in. If anything's stimulating some thoughts, comments, put them in the Q&A. We'll be happy to pass those on to the panelists. Alice, you want to add something?
I do actually. So talking about click-through rates. So as you're looking at email programs, whether it's being sent out by human or marketing automation, Marketo or Eloqua, one of those, you might get a 2% click-through rate, in which at one point in time, it was amazing, right? But if you're looking at just click-through versus engagement, and engagement meaning there's a positive reply to talk, ready to talk to sales. The way that we actually use Conversational even within our own company is that we are actually seeing versus instead of 2% click-through rate, which is also an assumption that they're interested, we're seeing about almost 10% engagement, which is people replying back that they want to talk to our sales team. So I think that's the differentiator for Conversational, and I think Kim touched on that perfectly.
Very nice. And Alice, just looking across some of the other customers that you know who used AI tools like this, similar results to what Kim's reporting?
Similar, definitely, if not actually better with some of our customers.
All right, Kim, you got some work to do. Well, exactly. Obviously there's some work to do. Any of these kind of things that you start up take some tweaking over time. So Kim, talk to me now about what kind of adjustments, who has to watch it. There's got to be a human being watching over this and, you know, measuring, making adjustments. So talk to me about that ongoing maintenance of the program.
Yeah, what's really nice is actually the reporting module within Conversational. So, you know, my team goes in there regularly to look at, you know, as I mentioned, we have a variety of different conversations running. Some of those are based on content that's been downloaded. Some of those are based on, you know, like I said, industries or profiles. So we're constantly looking at those and comparing, you know, our different cohorts and understanding which ones are performing better within the platform. The other thing that's really nice is, you know, there's a series of different emails that go out as part of the conversation. And we can even drill into which ones specifically are driving the most engagement. You know, when we talk about customization, everything is out of the box. Everything is super easy. But what's nice is that you don't have to stay that way. So for example, if there's 7 emails that go out and we're finding that there's 0 engagement on one of them, we can actually go into the system and decide to skip it. If it's not doing anything for us, we don't have to keep that. So that's another thing that we look at too for optimizations.
So I imagine there's also decisions to be made about when somebody puts up their hand, like if they ask about pricing or something, that's a handoff to a human. Has there been some adjustments in that, like when that happens and who gets it and how fast?
Yeah, there has been actually. So there's 2 elements to that. You know, one is how our SDR team is handling those. So as we start to see the different responses, you know, we covered a ton in the initial sales training. But as we start to learn different responses, you know, that helps us get better at educating our SDRs at what might be coming in and how they should respond. The other thing that's nice is that as we continue to get responses, we can give real-time feedback back into Conversational to the conversation AI and have it understand, you know what, this is, maybe it's something really custom that we offer that is actually a hot lead, but you know, it was something that we had to train the Conversational AI on. So we are able to give that feedback and constantly improve the AI so it can understand more responses.
Very nice. Okay, you've stimulated some questions coming in here. So I'm going to grab one to either you, Alice or Kim, or both. Can you talk about the scoring elements that provides a stronger sense of an MQL in Conversational? Because I agree with Alice's point of independent actions don't necessarily equal a qualified lead.
It's actually not scoring for MQL. So again, the point I made earlier is that MQL is based on activities, right, and assumptions. This is actually talking about conversation qualified. So again, when the AI is having conversations with you as an individual, the AI is smart enough to understand that your responses are positive, right, leading to it interpreting that you are ready for sales. And the interpretation is very specific to, yes, I want a demo. Yes, I'm ready to talk to a salesperson, right? Yes, send me this information. Very, very firm and positive. So it's not necessarily based on MQL scoring, it's conversation qualified because the AI has gone out and asked you for your positive response back. And that makes it makes you ready to move over to the sales team.
Tim, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll add to that. And what we have is, you know, there's 2 different kind of types of leads that we're sending over to our sales team. So we have the hot lead, the one that says, yes, I'm interested. I want to set up a call, send me more information. And then we have ones that are, you know, maybe asking a little more pointed questions, things like that. So we can also send kind of this, you know, needs more information or needs review type of leads over to our SDRs as well. So they get both, which is nice because it gives them the opportunity to then follow up and continue the conversation, as well as getting those leads that are ready for a demo or a conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, we're at the 5-minute warning. Keep those questions coming in. We'll pile in as many as we can. By the way, if we don't get to all your questions today, Christian will stick around afterwards, make sure you've got someone to talk to after if you'd like to explore more. So let's get into lessons learned. So Kim, what advice would you give to other marketers out there thinking, oh, I want to try this, I'm a little concerned? Maybe a couple of things that you learned. No implementation is perfect, right? So what are a couple of lessons you learned along the way you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think touching on what Alice said earlier about just kind of alignment on, what is your lead process, right? This obviously was, a result of a change that we had already started making within our MQL qualifications. But I think it's really important to have that, unified view of what the process is going to be, what the handoff is. We definitely had a lot of time invested in training our SDRs so they understood how to follow up with these, because again, it's not like a lead where there hasn't been a conversation already. So that was a big one for us as well. And then just internally, looking at what are the different ways that we could use it. A great example is we first started off, just within the US. And then we realized, what, this is actually something that we can leverage globally as well. My team runs campaigns globally. So once we launched in the US, we actually started to launch in different languages. So we could support, our entire organization with this process.
Well, that's a lot of work, translating all the scripts, or is that something the AI does?
They are already translated. So, as I mentioned, we did have to kind of put some of the, there's customization, but that's the only thing that, our team in EMEA had to do was actually just translate the customized parts. The entire script was already translated for the base of the email.
Nice. Okay, so now I'm really impressed. I was impressed before, but now I'm really impressed. Alice, let's get an advice you would have for others maybe just starting on this journey. They've been looking at it, kind of on the fence. Push them over the fence. Why should you give it a shot and try to innovate with an AI assistant?
Well, so if you've been in marketing and sales for a while, as I have, then you have a full understanding of the pressure behind building pipeline. So you need tools and heroes. And so nothing for me in my career has been as exciting, right? Once marketing automation came through, and that's been 10, 15 years now, nothing has been as exciting as a conversational AI. So this is something that I would encourage everybody to try, especially with Conversational. But I think it'll help you, right, with your job of building pipelines, supporting sales, and so forth. So if you're feeling that pressure, right, to create programs and nurture leads to support the organization's pipeline, then you definitely want to look at a Conversational AI assistant.
Very nice. Okay, so Alice, I'm going to ask you also if you could post into the chat for everyone just a little call to action or place where they can go to explore more about Conversational.
Yeah.
Email address, whatever you post into the chat right now. I'm going to go back to Kim for the last word. All right, Kim, we've been talking a lot about this. Anything else you wanted to share that I haven't asked you about you think would be valuable for the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, going back to the point of, being asked to do more with less, being in a more difficult, noisy, as Alice pointed it out, world, it's tools like this that we need as marketers. It's the only way that we're going to be able to scale, the only way that we're going to be able to, really get the results that we're looking for. So, if anybody is looking for a way to be able to have better follow-up, really be able to pick out those leads from, that sea, like I said, of MQLs that are pre-MQLs that you have, I think Conversational is just an amazing tool to be able to do that. And you've got the ability to scale, you've got the ability to be very targeted, and you have the control to be able to optimize as you go, which I think is fantastic.
Excellent. That is a great last word. And I see Alice posting in here. Oh, I'm going to get a call from Alexis. Yay!
So you're going to get an email from Alexis. And again, depending on your positive response, she'll decide where to take you in terms of the sales process. But you can also choose to ignore her, and then you can see her persistence and her consistency in trying to communicate with you.
Excellent. I want to hear from Maya too. Kim, can I talk to Maya? What do I have to do?
Absolutely. Yeah. Go to talkdesk.com, download one of our assets, and then Maya will start following up with you there.
Oh, this is so exciting. Well, and I'm excited to talk to both of you. There's a lot of questions left unanswered, so people in the audience may want to explore a little more, stay on the journey, reach out to Alice or to Kim. Christian's going to stay around if you have any other, follow-up technical questions, pricing questions, anything you want to ask about. He'll stick around here for a couple of minutes. I want to thank all of you for joining in this conversation today. You'll look for a recording that'll be posted, and of course, future thought leadership events featuring experts and innovators like Kim, like Alice, and we appreciate you joining us today. Have an awesome
everybody.
rest of the week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.